You're listening to the industry's leading fitness business podcast for owners and managers. We'd like to thank this month's premier podcast partner, Precor. Through experience design, Precor delivers best-in-class products, top-ranked service, unparalleled expertise, and resources needed to help facility operators win. For more information, go to precor.com. What is it about major milestones that makes you do crazy things? In June of this year, I turned 40 and I decided that it would be a great idea to enter a 30K trail run. Despite having never been a runner in my entire life and let alone ever running on a trail before. It took me 11 weeks of dedicated training, but I am pleased to report that I successfully completed my goal and crossed the finish line. Now, here we are in November of 2019, and the Fitness Business Podcast has hit its very own major milestone, 500,000 downloads. So you might be wondering, what type of crazy thing has this made me do? Well, I have reluctantly handed over the microphone this week to our owner and founder, Justin Tamsett. So today I'm going to change hats and I get to spend some time as the interviewee rather than the interviewer. We are going to take a quick peek behind the scenes of the show. I'm going to share with you the guest who was the funniest, the most competitive, the one that took the longest to get, the one that made me the most nervous, and the most starstruck. We also chat about what it's taken to last 4.5 years and 262 episodes, considering most podcasts only make it around 3 months or 7 episodes. And I'm going to share with you my all-time favorite listener letter. All of that is coming your way in under 60 seconds time. But first, here's a message from our friends at Precor. Precor understands that experience matters when it comes to selecting the right fitness supplier for your facility. That's why they're celebrating their proven expertise in experience-driven design, the industry's highest resale value backed by top-tier US manufacturing, and the industry's highest-rated customer support team. Find out how Precor can provide you the total solution approach to fit your needs. Go to precor.com/total-solutions. On Thursday, March the 19th, 2020, you'll have the opportunity to join friends and colleagues at the annual FBP Family Meetup at IHRSA 2020. Starting from the Marriott Marquis San Diego Marina at 6:30 a.m., we walk and we talk for 45 minutes, sharing experience, ideas, and stories. Everyone from the FBP family is invited, and we would love for you to join us on the day. For full details, listen in after the main interview.
As you would say, Chantal, it's a very warm welcome to you to the Fitness Business Podcast as a guest. How are you feeling?
I am so excited, and it's kind of a little bit weird being on this side of the microphone. I've got to be completely honest. I feel like I don't have any control. You are in charge today, so I'll just let you run the show.
Well, I am going to turn the heat up on you, baby, in this interview. We are going to crank it right up and give our FBP family heaps of value out of today's show. Now, as of November, when we're recording this, 2019, you've been hosting the podcast since day one, over 260 shows, and the FBP want to know some of these behind-the-scenes bits of information. So unbeknown to you, I have actually gone out to our FBP family, and here are some things that they want to know. Your chance to dish the dirt. Who was the funniest guest you have ever interviewed?
Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. So if I had to say, the funniest guest would be Amanda Bond. So Amanda Bond, I didn't know her before we first did the interview, and I had done some research, but just to paint a picture for everyone, and I'm sure Amanda won't mind me sharing this, when we did her first interview, and she's been on the show twice, she rocked up with a glass of wine, and anyone that has heard Amanda or that knows Amanda or has seen her speak, she swears like a trooper. And so she was just so natural, hilariously funny, so much fun, and just tells it like it is. So I would have to put her at the top of my list for the funniest ever guest. And if anyone missed it, show 200 is the one to check out on that one.
Okay, next question. Who were you most nervous to interview?
Ooh, this is a really good one, and there is one person who is absolutely the standout for this, and that's Rick Caro. So Rick, when I went into the interview, I mean, he is just the most amazing man, incredibly experienced. I think he's been in the industry for something like 46 years, and I just have so much respect for him, and I didn't want to say anything wrong. I wanted to make sure that, you know, we captured everything in the interview. And he came on a couple of years ago, JT. It was actually, I'm trying to think, it was episode 129 and 134. So we did 2 episodes, and he spoke to us about how to sell your fitness business. So it was a super important topic. We'd never covered it before, but I definitely went into that interview with nerves and appreciation for having the opportunity to interview someone with Rick's experience.
Okay. Now, who have you met thanks to the show that perhaps you maybe never thought you would get to meet?
Great question. So I guess the ones that, and I can't just stick to one. I'm sorry, JT, I'm going to give you a few on this one. So a few people that would make this list, probably the top would be Randy Hetrick, TRX creator. And for me, again, this is all going back to when I started in the fitness industry. And I know, like so many of our listeners, I mean, I started in this industry because I was passionate about fitness, and I used to love rocking up and doing body pump and thinking, oh, I can do that one day. And so for me, using and getting trained on TRX way back in the day, again, it was kind of a bit surreal to then have the opportunity to interview Randy, but then I got to meet him just over a year ago at the Athletic Business Show in New Orleans, because he was the keynote speaker. So that was a really, really cool experience. So I definitely put him up there. The other person that I would put up there, and again, I guess it's a bit of a personal passion of mine. Any of the listeners who have been with us for a while have probably heard me obsess a little bit about going and hitting up a Barry's Boot Camp workout. And JT, you and I did my first Barry's Boot Camp in Santa Monica a couple of years ago, so you get credit for exposing me to Barry's. But having the chance...
hang on. I don't want to take any credit for exposing you to Barry.
That sounded bad, didn't it?
Yeah, we don't have to edit that bit out.
Then we definitely should edit that bit out, or maybe not. But no, but getting to meet, or getting to interview first and then meet Joey Gonzalez, who's the CEO of Barry's, was super, super cool, because I guess I just had so much admiration and love for that workout, and love doing it. And then as it happens, Barry's ended up opening in Australia, probably, I guess, 18 months ago now, around about that time. And Joey came over for the launch of one of the Sydney businesses, and so one of the Sydney Barry's. So that was super cool to get the chance to meet him.
Awesome. All right. This question comes from the amazing Amanda Stevens, who we've had on the show.
Amanda.
Her question is, who completely blew you away when you interviewed them?
Oh, there's a lot of people that fall into this category for different reasons. So I'll try and, I guess, pick a couple. I would have to say someone who blew me away the first time I spoke to her, and then we have been so lucky to have her on a few times, and that's Casey Conrad. And Casey just has this incredible energy and generosity. in the information that she shares. I mean, she just absolutely doesn't hold back. And I guess she blew me away because of that incredible generosity. I mean, the information that she's shared with us over the years has been so valuable, and I know that it will have helped so many fitness professionals and business owners out there that Casey is just, I really feel in debt to her for what she's done to the show and the contribution that she's made to the show. So, Casey, if you're watching or if you're listening, thank you so much for everything you have contributed for us. Another, I'm going to give you two more, JT, if that's all right, while I've got the microphone. So another person that blew me away because of the impact that she had on me during the interview, but also the impact that she's made in her market and even beyond that market is Carol Michaels. And Carol Michaels was the IDEA Personal Trainer of the Year, I'm going to say in 2016, I think it was. And she has done incredible work when it comes to working with people that have gone through chemotherapy for cancer and have now started that recovery phase, and even people that are still going through treatment. And the reason that I guess she had such an incredible effect on me is that she was a personal trainer in a local community like so many people are out there, and she identified that there was a need for trainers to be able to work with cancer patients and people recovering from treatment, and there wasn't anything that existed. And she took it upon herself to go about and to start to learn more and work with the medical community and start to create DVDs and programs and products that she could start helping those people. And to me, Carol is just that definition of what's possible in our industry, and you don't have to be a big multi-million-dollar brand to impact people's lives. So, Carol, if you're watching, congratulations on everything that you have done. And the third person that I would put into this category would actually be Jessica Matthews. Jessica was with us in show 161. And the reason I think Jessica is so significant for our industry is I feel as though Jessica is the future of where the fitness industry is headed and where we need to be headed. And what I mean by that is Jessica works a lot with everything from the mindfulness and meditation and yoga side of the business right through to the medical side, so working out where fitness meets wellness. And she does a lot of work with the university, and she's just doing incredible work for our industry. So they're my three: Casey, Carol and Jessica.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, it can't all be smooth sailing. Who's been the hardest person to get on the show?
Oh, this is so easy to answer, I've got to say. It was definitely Joey Gonzalez from Barry's, who I mentioned earlier. I think, JT, that you probably put the initial call out like 12 months before we actually got the interview. And this, sometimes it takes us weeks, sometimes it takes us months, but this one was particularly hard. I think we were probably 20 to 30 emails deep by the time we actually got this interview happening. So, without a doubt, Joey was the longest and the hardest to get, but it was awesome getting him on the show eventually.
Now, this is an auditory product, so voice is really important. Who have you spoken to that you could just listen to hours and hours for because of their sweet dulcet tones?
When this person hears me answer this question, he's going to totally get this. Without a doubt, it is Mark Schaefer. Mark Schaefer has been on the show twice before. He is an author and he just has the most amazing voice. It means that his audiobooks are an absolute joy to listen to. I love interviewing Mark. His delivery is flawless. His message is so important. He speaks on marketing and writes on marketing. Mark Schaefer, 100%.
Who do you think really challenges the thinking of how we run our fitness businesses? Who have you interviewed that's challenged us?
So without doubt, the person that I would I would answer or nominate for this one would be Francesca Schuller, who is the CEO of InShape Health Clubs. And I met Francesca probably just over a year ago now, and there's been so many things happen and that I've heard her speak about and interviewed her on the show that really puts her into that category of, I guess, challenging the way that things have been done traditionally. And so I would start off by saying Francesca's actually come into fitness from another industry. And I think that's really significant because she has brought with her quite a different point of view, and she really looks beyond, I guess, our traditional businesses to how things should be done. One of the things that she said to me in an early interview, which has always stuck with me, is thinking about the employees that we have within our business. And she said how important it is that we hire a diverse range of employees because we have a diverse range of clients coming into the club. So therefore, you might need someone who's male or female or young or old or has been through different life circumstances, because you're going to have clients come in who maybe feel intimidated coming into our gyms for the very first time. If they come in and there's just, someone on the welcome desk that perhaps to them they can't relate to, or perhaps they're walking into an environment that just it's out of their comfort zone. If you've got someone that they can talk to that's maybe part of your sales team, or maybe one of your group fitness instructors, one of your sales managers, diversity within our teams, within our employee teams is such an important part of running a fitness business. And I always think of that message that Francesca shared with me at that time. So I might also add one other thing about that. And that is Francesca talked about how she brings in experts from different parts of the industry and outside of the industry to talk to her teams. And so that they can learn from different people. And I always think how closely that relates to what we do here on the show. As you know, JT, we make such an effort to make sure that we provide guests that are from within our industry so we can learn from their experience, but also we try and step outside of that by bringing in authors and consultants and different coaches so that we can learn how other people in other industries are working as well. So I think that's a really important factor.
Great. Are you ready? This is the last one.
I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Now, this question comes from a number of people. This question comes from Chris Stevenson, Sam Mutimer, Luke Carlson, Bill McBride again, Amanda Stevens again. It also comes from Mark Schaefer. It comes from, who's that? Oh, Justin Tamset.
I was going to say, you got to be up there.
Who is the most competitive guest we've ever had on the show who always wants to know their download numbers?
Okay, so since you use the word competitive, then I think these two probably fight it out. Those two people would be Casey Conrad and Bill McBride. I would have to put those two at the top of the list. Yeah, definitely those two at the top of the list. And Casey in particular will email us sometimes and go, how are my numbers going? How are my numbers going? And then we'll report back, and then all of a sudden we see that she's reposted another show and reshared another show. So I love that competitive nature of our guests.
Well, thank you for giving us an insight with those 9 questions on our guests that we've had on the show over the 260 shows. Great insights, and we'll put all the links to those shows wherever they have to be. You know what to do there.
I'll take care of that.
Excellent. How do you feel when a listener contacts you via email or on our social platforms, or even when you receive an iTunes review, a 5-star iTunes review? How does that make you feel?
When I hear from a listener, regardless of what format that is in, it fills my heart with so much joy. I think, anyone that knows me knows that this show has been my life for the last 4.5 years.
So sometimes, when you're working, a lot of the time we've got an amazing team, but I work from home and I work by myself a lot of the time, and you kind of, put a huge amount of time and effort and energy into interviewing and researching and editing and doing all that sort of stuff. And it's, you don't always necessarily get feedback on, every day or every week even. So when I do hear from you guys and when I hear about the impact that the show has had, it's indescribable. Like, it just absolutely makes me go, wow, this is so worthwhile because we're really making a difference. And I have a little favour to ask you, JT.
Sure. Fire away.
Would it be okay?
I'm just a paid talent.
Yeah. Well, I just thought the best way for me to kind of answer that question, besides what I've already said, is to actually share one of my all-time favourite reviews with you. Would that be okay?
You can go for that.
Okay. So this review came in from, and I'm using their iTunes name, so I would love this person to reach out to me so I know what your real name is and I can thank you personally. But this came in from AK Abbott from the US in 2019, and the review said this: I found the Fitness Business podcast by accident shortly before opening my indoor cycle and cardio studio 3 years ago. Operating in a rural area and being the only business with this kind of model anywhere around, I didn't have people I could chat to about concerns and ideas. The Fitness Business podcast has been like having a mentor. I could go to any time of the day or of the night. I recently went back to the first episode to listen again, finding now that I'm at a different stage in my business. Those replayed episodes are again offering valuable advice that I had passed over the first listen. One of my favourite features is the yearly compilation of books by the Fitness Business Podcast guests that they have recommended on the show. I'm slowly reading each one, starting with the ones mentioned the most often. Thank you, Chantal, and everyone at the Fitness Business Podcast for helping my dream of owning a successful fitness business become a reality. So, yeah, reading that is everything. It means everything. And in that review, they mentioned that books that shaped our leaders. And that's worth a special mention because anyone that's new to the show, maybe you haven't heard about that before, but every single year, the team behind the scenes goes through every episode for that year and pulls out the books that have been recommended and puts all of those book recommendations into an ebook. It's an amazing resource for our listeners. So thank you so much to AK Abbott for that review, and please know how much it means to me to hear that and the impact that the show has had and how much it means to all of the team.
I've got a feeling that's Amber Abbott, and she's actually, and I think she's actually in Canada.
Oh.
And because she listens to the show, she's actually joined the Active Management Facebook community, and she's in that page. And I just have a funny feeling that could be her.
Well, there you go. So. Well, Amber, if that is you, let us know. If it's not you, let us know. Let us know. But no, in all honesty, and that's one review that we receive, and I get feedback from all different ways, but please know, for those of you that are listening and watching right now, that hearing from you guys means the absolute world. That's why we do this. So thank you to anyone that's ever taken the time to write to me or give us an iTunes review, or just come up at a conference and say hi and say thanks. It means the world.
And of course, anybody that wants to review the show can review at any stage.
Of course. You know what I'll do, JT? Just take a guess what I'm going to do.
I'll put a link somewhere in the show notes. We'll be able to add a review.
How did you guess? That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Love your work. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about some of the shows.
Yep.
A bit of an insight on perhaps your recommendations. And I know you're doing the rewind part of the shows now.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess this is a giant rewind part of the show.
Yep.
What show do you recommend people listen to about leadership and why that might be the case?
Okay, so with leadership, first of all, I have to say this is a super hard one to narrow down because we have had so many amazing leaders on the show. and people talking about leadership. So I'm actually going to choose one that was super, super recent. So perhaps not everyone's had a chance to listen to this interview yet because it was only in the past couple of weeks. And that was Adam Zaitsev, the CEO of Gold's Gym. And Adam got on to talk about leadership and how he manages his team, because you and I had actually, I think we both read an article where he refers to his team as the Gold's Gym family. I guess just as we refer to our listeners as the FBP family. And so I was really interested in understanding, what that meant to him and why, how he approached leadership. And from that interview, really the overriding themes that came out of that for me was how important it is as a leader to communicate and to connect with our teams. So throughout that interview, Adam actually shares with us ways that he communicates and connects with his team. It's things, he talks about things like making sure that he's walking the floor twice a day, and he's got this awesome email communication, which he tells us about on the show. I'm not going to give it away now. So there's a whole lot of different methods that he has for connecting with his team. So that was a really great interview, not only a super recent one. As I mentioned, it's episode 260, and we right now are in 262. So really recently, if you've missed that one.
Okay. What show do you recommend if you want to learn about marketing?
Okay. So again, all of these awesome categories that you're talking about, we've obviously had heaps and heaps of amazing guests. But the one that I would jump to on this one is a dear friend of the show, Alan Leach. And Alan specifically spoke on digital marketing. And I guess, for me, this has kind of a double impact, because not only did we have him on the show speaking about this, but we got to see him present live on digital marketing at IHRSA this year. And my goodness, it was just such an incredible presentation that we saw, just completely one of the best I've ever seen. So, but just specifically, if anyone does want to go out and check out the interview that we had with him on the show, it was episode 169, and I've got to refer to my notes for this, but basically he talked about how much a club owner should spend annually on their online marketing campaign. He shared 3 secrets to powerful and profitable digital marketing, and what else? Oh, well, they were the main things that he talked about. But basically, I think, we do a lot of shows on marketing in general, and we have some extensions on that, but that was a really great show on digital marketing specifically.
So as we move through the member journey or the client journey, we've talked about leadership, we've talked about marketing. We're not going to touch on sales because I know you're going to recommend any of those Casey Conrad shows that you've already mentioned.
True.
But what about retention? Once they're already a member, what shows do you recommend that people go back and check about retention?
Yeah, so we actually had, and it's not the first time that he's been on the show, but earlier this year we had Dr. Paul Bedford do one of our intensive shows. Now, I'm pretty sure that anyone that's been listening for a while will know what I'm talking about, but in the event that there's anyone that's watching or listening that hasn't heard about our intensive shows, effectively, we actually do a 1-hour show. We've done 6 of these throughout 2019, and our special guest for that show does a deep dive into one particular topic. So Dr. Paul Bedford obviously joined us and talked about retention. And during that particular episode, he covered off, let me just make sure I've got this right, how to build your customer journey to improve member retention. He talked about what he calls VIP visits, how to use a CRM system for retention rather than sales. So there's all of these kind of components that he covered off in a real deep dive session on retention. And first of all, obviously, he has this incredible, huge amount of experience in this area. So was really, really generous and detailed in the information that he shared. But the other component that I love about these intensive shows, and it's something that personally I feel so proud that we create as part of this, and that is the downloadable ebook. So we take the complete transcript of that interview. We, behind the scenes, the awesome team, Alicia and Mel, that we work with, they create this ebook so that the listeners can listen to it on audio, and then they can go and download the ebook and use all of that information to help them in their business or to share with their team. So that's definitely one worth checking out. And it was episode 222. Easy to remember.
Chew. Any Australian will understand exactly what I'm talking about there. Earlier you talked about a team and you mentioned Francesca Schuller's episode. Coming from outside the industry, I guess, is the tip there. But what about for team development? Was there any shows that you recommend around team development that people should listen to?
Definitely. And this was an easy one for me, and I don't know if you're going to see this coming. Get that? See this coming? But the episode that I'm going to talk to you about is your episode, JT, because you came on the show, I'm going to say, I think it was way back in 2017, and you did the 7 C's to building a winning team. Do you remember doing that interview? It was back when we used to do interviews together all the time, back in the early days.
Yeah, before anyone wanted to be on the show.
But
you had no one else to interview, so you had to come off the bench, and I think this might have been an off-the-bench presentation too.
Well, it was a damn good one, I've got to tell you, and I know that you've presented this across the world, but just for anyone that actually missed that particular episode, so basically JT touched on the importance of positive energy in a team culture, 2 key elements that are essential in effective communication, and the reciprocal effect of demonstrating commitment to your team. Now, I've got a question for you, JT. Do you remember off the top of your head what the 7 C's were?
Well, it was a song by Queen, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't know.
How about we go with culture?
Yep.
How about we go with contagious?
Mm-hmm.
How about what we are, consistent?
Yes.
Communicate. I'm going to go with connect.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go with commitment.
Uh-huh.
And just because I do, care.
You get an A+ for that memory, JT. That is very impressive. So, look, but in all honesty, for anyone that missed that episode, I do really highly recommend that you check it out. It was episode 107. As I mentioned earlier, it was the 7 C's to building a winning team, and a really, really great one. There is a lot of great ones from you. As a matter of fact, when I was looking back and having a bit of a trip down memory lane, one of the other ones that popped up was your episode on how to create a Facebook Live. Don't know if you remember doing that. Now that you're,
remember that.
100 and something episodes into JT and the Raw. So so pretty cool. We did some great interviews together.
We've used this language internally almost since day one, but I think it wasn't until almost 12 to 18 months down the track that we started to use the word FBP family. Mm-hmm. I think you used to say tribe, and I went, no, they're not a tribe. Let's make them part of our family. So what does FBP family mean to you?
Well, you're so right. So we used the word tribe for the first year or first couple of years, and it was funny because I was, again, going back and listening to some old episodes in preparation for today, and, I'd quite often throw in a guys or a team or just more general listeners and that type of term. And I think that it's only with, I guess, the development of a relationship that you can transition into a term like family. And it was only when we started to get to know the listeners, and I guess the listeners started to get to know me, that we could all feel comfortable with utilising that term. Because, when I think of the word family, I think about a loving relationship. I think about trust. I think about respect. And I like to think that over the years that we've had the show and that I've been hosting the show, I hope that the FBP family feel all of those things, that they feel really comfortable with us, that they feel as though they can trust the information that they hear, that we understand what they're going through, that we have their best interests at heart. So for me, family is about, us putting our heart and soul into this show every single week. And equally, I hope that all of the FBP family out there feel as though the Fitness Business podcast is a place that they can come to because they know they're going to get the very best and the very latest information from the fitness industry. They know that we have their professional goals at heart. They know that they can trust what they hear on the show and that we're getting the best guests and the best advice and the best authors and consultants and coaches from all across the world to help them grow their fitness business. So to me, family is about that. It's about knowing each other. It's about trusting each other, respecting that relationship. And I feel so blessed every day that I get to create this content and provide this information to the FBP family across the world.
Chantal, thanks a lot for sharing everything you have today on the History of the Fitness Business podcast, as well as some of the best shows that people could listen to, and also the background that, I guess, the intensity that is needed to produce such a high-quality show week in, week out. You do an amazing job. I know the FBP family tune in every week to hear your sweet dulcet tones as you ask our guests really great questions that are very practical so that owners, managers and team members can really grow their business. You do an awesome job. Congratulations on hitting this massive milestone of 500,000 downloads. Onwards and upwards to 1 million is what I say. And I will let you have the final word with your quote about not what we do.
Thank you, JT. You know that I'm going to do that quote in just a second, but I do have to say a massive big thank you to everyone that has stayed on with us today and listened to all of this interview. I know it's been a long one today, and I, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so, so grateful to have done this show over the last 4.5 years. You don't want me to say it, JT, but a massive thank you to you for the opportunity. It's been my life and it's been everything, and I am so, so grateful. And to all of the team as well, because we would not be able to do it without all of the team. So Alicia, Harper, Mel, Diana, thank you guys so much as well. And to finish off with today, JT, something for you to remember. What you leave behind.
I'm thinking.
What you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
Hi everyone, don't run away just yet, because despite what you just heard, we're not at the end of the show. So stay with me for just another few minutes. I want to take a quick moment to say a big thank you to JT for joining me today. It was so much fun recording today's episode, and also another big thank you to all of our team, our guests, our podcast partners, and every single one of you who are listening right now. Thank you all for your support and for sharing the show with your team and your colleagues. And here's to our next goal, which is 1 million downloads by December 2020. Here's a message from our podcast partner, One Fit Stop. We'd like to thank our sponsor, One Fit Stop, for their support, and we highly recommend all fitness professionals go to onefitstop.com to find out how their software will enable you to take control of day-to-day management in your fitness business. One Fit Stop's scheduling, client management, programming, and payment collection tools will set your business up for success.
Precore Quickfire 5.
This week's Precore Quickfire 5 guest is the CEO of Total Fitness in the UK, Sophie Lawler.
Sophie, welcome along. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Hi.
Now let's start off with your Precore Quickfire 5 questions. Tell us, why do you do what you do?
Because I should.
Good answer. And what's one?
Because I should. And it's got great purpose and I'm the best person for the job. But first and foremost, it's because I should.
Good answer. And what's one ritual that helps you become better at what you do?
There's lots of things that help me be better at what I can do, because I'm forever learning and you never the finished article. But to name but a couple, I practice yoga. I think it's got a great philosophy about you can't get it right first time. You can't always do your best every day. You just do what you can. I read a lot and I ask a lot of questions. I'm not usually used to answering them, Chantal. I usually ask them.
So we're turning the tables on you today.
You are, yeah.
Put you in the spotlight. Tell us, are there any apps or systems that you use to stay in control of your workload?
In control of workload, no. The business very much dictates my workload. I use the team to help me prioritise, but in terms of a system, no, I don't really think any system can control your workload. You have to choose it.
Very good. And I've got to say, we should do a shout out now to Kate, because Kate has been a wonderful help in organising today as well, talking about the team helping out.
Exactly. You can't do everything by a process and a system, because there's people in the middle of every working day, right?
Yeah, absolutely, especially in our industry. And you mentioned just before that you love reading. So do you want to share with us a book, a podcast, or a blog that you would recommend, and why?
It's difficult to recommend one, so I'm going to stretch it and recommend two that have helped me define our direction. Two of many, to be honest. And I know books aren't for everybody. It's just my learning style. But Simon Sinek's famous one, Start With Why, really helped me put the purpose back into the organisation, because the structure of his work is so simple and so easy to explain to people. And then there's another one by Jim Clifton and Hartner, or the Jims Clifton and Hartner, called It's the Manager, which is all about building a strengths-based culture in your business.
Two great recommendations. Thank you for those, Sophie.
Brilliant books.
I don't know if you know this, but we actually had Peter Docker on the show, I want to say last...
No way.
Yes, and I was a little bit starstruck, I must admit. And for those of you that didn't hear the interview, so Peter Docker is the co-author of the follow-up book to Start With Why, which is called Find Your Why, which is a fantastic practical... have you read that one, Sophie?
I have, but you were about to say fantastic practical book, right? And that's what I love about Start With Why and It's the Manager. They're almost like blueprints. You've got to have, there's an awful lot of thought and stuff that you've got to do behind the scenes, but they're very blueprinty, not copy and paste blueprinty though. You can actually put your own authenticity and into it. Super applicable. Applicable.
Yes, I found the same thing, and Peter was so fascinating, just an incredible man. So if anyone missed that interview with Peter Docker, I will put a link in today's show notes that you can go back and have a listen to that one as well. And just to round off our pre-call quickfire 5, Sophie, tell everyone, just give us a little bit of a broad focus on the topic that we're going to cover off during your main interview.
Well, I think we'll probably be covering what is driving the turnaround of our business, which is very much people power at the moment. It's certainly not investment power, it's people power. And it's all about creating a culture of leadership in your organisation, more and more and more leadership, as much as you can, because that's what it takes to grow an organisation, leadership at all levels.
Sophie, I'm just fascinated to talk to you about this topic and really get some insights into what you've been doing in the business. So thank you for joining us today for the Pre-Call Quickfire 5.
No worries.
This week's Rewind show is episode 80 with Carol Michaels. The future of the fitness industry is working with a medical fraternity. During the interview, Carol talks about her journey to building recovery fitness and also gives us an insight into how she approached and established relationships with the medical industry to help develop and support the program. If you missed that episode, then go along to today's show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and in the search field, type the number 80. You heard it at the start of the show, so here are the details that you've been waiting for. You're all invited to the FBP Family Meetup on Thursday, March the 19th, 2020 at 6:30 a.m. If you're not familiar with our meetup walks, it is an active networking event. We walk and we talk for 45 minutes and return back to the main entrance of the Marriott Marquis San Diego Marina by 7:15 a.m. The meetup is free and it is the best way to start your day. We love to know who's coming along, so please jump over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, go to the top of the page and click on the tab called Meetup. Then register your details for the IHRSA walk. If you need any more information, email me directly at chantal@fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's show. A quick reminder that all the resources and links for today's episode can be found at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Thank you to our foundation partner, Active Management. Active Management are a fitness business coaching company that help clients all over the world. And this month, I have a business tip for you all. Join the Active Management Facebook community. It's an amazing group and you'll meet like-minded fitness owners and managers from all over the world. All you need to do is go to facebook.com/groups/Active Management Community. It's a highly engaging community where JT from Active Management shares loads of resources. Things like photos from inside gyms, reasons to exercise, a monthly book club, challenges, and even ideas under $50. It's free and it is an awesome community. Once again, just go to facebook.com/groups/Active Management Community. Thank you all once again for joining me for this very special episode of the Fitness Business Podcast. Enjoy your week ahead, and once again, remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.